back with more laundry to fold. We're about getting ready to like pack, so I have like clothes like all over my bed for vacation and stuff. But let's chat. And you guys have really come through with like the topics for these videos, so thank you very much. Please keep sending them in because I do see them and I see them in comments, and it's really awesome when I'm like, oh wait, that like struck something, like I really want like to say a lot of stuff about that topic. So today we're talking about sports, extracurricular activities for kids, because I have strong opinions, I guess, on that too. If you guys happen to be new here, then maybe you don't know, but I homeschool the kids, and right now my kids aren't in any extracurricular activities per se, like sports or dance or like gymnastics, that sort of thing. They do have like their homeschool co-op, which that's like where they go once a week and they see their friends, even though we're taking like a break in the summer. And then we have like other little groups, like we have like a nature co-op where we do like hikes and stuff. But when you think of extracurricular activities, or at least when I think of it, I think of like that, like sports, dance. And right now my kids aren't like in any of those. And so I understand where that question comes from. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Why aren't your kids in extracurriculars? Will they ever be in extracurriculars or sports in the future? So here's kind of my spiel on sports. So a little bit of background, I guess, so you guys have an idea. Like, I'm not opposed to sports or dance or anything like that. I have opinions because in the past I did do dance for a while. My mom put me into like one of those like dance studios when I was little. I can't tell you exactly how old I was, but I did do dance. And then I also, when I was in 7th and 8th grade, or when I was in 8th grade maybe, I did like school cheerleading. And then in high school I was a cheerleader for like freshman and sophomore year, and then after that I quit. I was done with it. So I do have like some experience, like I tell you that so you know, like I have some experience with extracurriculars myself, like growing up, so I'm sure that a lot of my feelings stem from that. So I don't think that extracurriculars are necessarily bad. I think that they can be done well, but I think that you kind of have to be careful with extracurriculars for like a lot of different reasons. And this is me again word vomiting, so things may be all over the place. I have some issues with extracurriculars in the sense that I think a lot of times it becomes like, number one, like a kid's identity. And I think that that could be something that you have to like think about and just make sure that it's not becoming like your child's only identity. Like, who is Max? Oh, Max is a football player. Like, okay, Max again, like Max plays football, but he's not a football player. He's not defined just by football. You know, what he's defined as is, like I always say, like a child of God, and like making sure that football isn't like the only way that they see themselves. Like, there's other aspects to them. And I think that as a kid and as a, you know, teenager or young adult, like you're looking for that identity, right? Like I think we're all kind of looking for ways to fit in. And then I don't know, I think it's very easy for dance to become your thing. Like, Kayla is a dancer, Kayla is a cheerleader. And I think it prevents us from, I don't know, growing to be a little bit more well-rounded. And again, I'm not saying that's everybody, right? I think it can be done well if there's like a healthy balance. So that's like my first, I guess, like issue with extracurriculars. The other thing is that I do think that there's a tendency for sports and things like that to become very like, I don't know, like that's like the one thing that your family like worships, and like it becomes an idol in your life, where it's like the whole weekend revolves around soccer, the whole weekend revolves around like the championship game. And then like you start making sacrifices in terms of like going to church, and you start making sacrifices in terms of like, oh, we can't sit down for family dinner because we have practice. Like, again, maybe at some point you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, but those are some of the reasons why, straight up honestly, like we haven't really entertained that at the moment, because like those are not sacrifices that I want to make. And maybe like you're okay with that, and that's fine. Like, again, everybody's family has to strike whatever balance they feel is appropriate. But those are like the things where like I worry that we're gonna become too consumed with practice and games, and like, I don't know, like that doesn't even seem like a really fun life for me, if I'm being honest. Like, I do not like the idea of waking up super early to take my kid to a soccer game at 8 o'clock in the morning, to be outside in the hot Miami sun. Like, that's not even like fun. That's not even like something that I would be like, yes, this is my thing, this is awesome, I'm gonna enjoy this so much. So those are like some of the reasons why I kind of hesitate. Now, I know that sports can be good for kids. Like I'm not saying that they're not. I'm sure that they are. I know that there's something to be said about being part of a team and learning how to win and learning how to lose, and all of those are good like things for kids to learn, and teens and young adults. Like that's all good stuff for them to learn. But is there a way to do it that's like a little bit healthier? Like I don't know. It's good for kids to have something to look forward to, and I don't know, it's good for them to exercise. I know like mentally, like I know all these things in theory, like all of those things are good for kids, but how do you do it without becoming like obsessive about it? And like unfortunately, I feel like in a lot of the leagues, even like the kid leagues, like the adults are the ones that take it so seriously. It's like, this is a life or death situation here. We must win. We must be at every single practice. And like, there's something about that, right? There's something about learning discipline and learning how to maintain a commitment. Like there's good things that come from that. Like, see, I'm trying to like show you that I'm processing that there's good stuff to it. But at the same time, I don't know, I feel like it's become in today's society, like if you think about it as a society in general, like we worship sports, we worship football, like our entire weekends, like some of our husbands and maybe even ourselves, like we worship football Sunday, we worship college football day, and we decide like what time we're gonna go to church based off of when there's a game. And like I just don't think that that's how it should be. I think that there are more important things in this life that we should focus on, or that we should, I don't know, prioritize a little bit better than sports and people throwing a ball around. Again, I'm just not a sports person in general, but I don't know, maybe you guys have like some input, right? Like if you guys still do extracurriculars, like how do you make it so that it's a healthy balance in your family? Like for us, I know that it's hard too, because when you have like one child, and like this is like the case with one of my good girlfriends, she's got twins, but they're twin boys. They're obviously the same age, so she has them in a sport. And for them, like it's manageable. They do the wake up on Saturday and do the games and stuff, but it's easier because they have to be at one place at one time. So it becomes like the family thing. Like her and her husband take the boys to their baseball game. Her and her husband take the boys to practice, and it's like a family bonding thing. When you have multiple kids, and then it's like, well, Riley would have to be at dance over here, and then Jackson would have to be at soccer, and would there be an overlap, and who's gonna stay with Sean? And then like you're all split up, and then like you're shuffling kids to and from places. Like I just got exhausted thinking about that, sharing that right now. Like it gave me severe anxiety. So I don't really know, like, can there be a way that we teach kids or like allow them to do these things in a less stressful way? Like that's why I had Riley in, when we were in Virginia, I put her in like a little dance class, and it was in like their equivalent of like a YMCA kind of thing. And it was not like a competition thing. It was just like a once a week show up, and you paid per class, or you paid like per semester. It was like not a lot of money, and you would go, and for 45 minutes they would dance, and they had fun, and they, you know, learned something, and they were entertained. And it was just very low commitment, very low stress. And you don't find that often, even like with the little kids dance studios here, at least in Miami. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but from the minute that you go into some of these dance studios, they're already talking about competition and this, and then if they're going to be on the competition team, then they can't miss any practice, and then like your life has to revolve around that. And I'm just like, I'm not into that. So there's a lot of things, as you can hear, like things that I don't really love. Like I don't love the super high stress, the super commitment kind of thing, the way that the priority is just like all on that. So things that like we'd have to work through and like find the right fit, like find the right like sport where it's not multiple times a week, where it's just a little bit more chill. But I still like, I don't know that that even exists, because most places like they want to have like the games, and they want to win, and they want the trophy, and they want to be able to say that they're national champions or whatever, and they want you to even travel. Like it can get really intense. And then that's kind of how like the kids get good, right? Like the kids that end up playing like for the schools and stuff, and the kids that end up playing in high school, it's usually because they've been at that intense level since they were like 5 years old, maybe earlier. Like I understand that that's why most kids start early, because if you want to be good, you got to practice. So you're probably going to be better if you started when you were 4 than when you were 10. But do I want my kid to be starting at 4? Like, can't I, like my kid just like chill and like go chase frogs outside. Like that's kind of what I want my kids to do right now. So I already know that they'll be kind of like behind in their skills when they start, unless they're like athletically gifted, which I'm sure based off of me and Joe they are not. It's just like a hard thing. And then when it comes to the girls in particular, when it comes to dance and like gymnastics or whatever, like I also have a lot of opinions when it comes to putting Riley in a dance class, because I think that most dance studios, not all of them, but most of them have kids doing very inappropriate dances and listening to inappropriate music when they're like tiny little humans. Like I have a big issue with a lot of the costumes that these little kids wear, and then like they go and they shake their butts in front of like old people like in the recitals. Like I don't think that's appropriate. And so to find the right dance studio where they are a little bit more conservative, where those like values are like aligned, I think like that's what it would take to get her into something like that. And then to not have the constant stress of like, oh, well, now we're gonna do competition. Like I remember like I said, I was in a dance studio and they did have the option for you to not be in competition. But what I found was like, if you wanted to like belong in the studio, if you wanted to have the friends, if you wanted that community, if you wanted to, you know, like feel like not like an outsider, you kind of had to do competition. And then everybody else that didn't was just kind of like not really like important. They didn't really, I don't know how to say it, like they didn't really care about you too much. They were just like, okay. And I mean, it makes sense, obviously. The people that went to competition and that were showing up to practice like 4 and 5 times a week, like obviously they knew each other more, they spent more time together. But then for you as an outsider, like you didn't really fit in. So then like, do I want that experience for my daughter too? Like probably not. So it's a lot of weighing of things. Most of what I have to say, like you can tell, is not super positive. I'm not ignorant to the fact that it can be done well. There is a way for it to be healthy. We just have to figure out what that looks like for our family. I do like the idea of the kids learning an instrument. That's something that's been on my mind. I really think that Riley and Jackson, Riley more so right now because she's showing more interest, but I do think that the kids would enjoy learning how to play piano. And I think that it would be really cool because I never learned how to play an instrument other than the recorder, and that served me like nothing. So I like the idea of them learning how to play piano. And one of my friends, she has, because I was like, at first I was like, no, I'm not gonna put a piano in my house that I'll freaking never hear myself think, like even more so than I don't now. But my friend has like I think they call them like is it like a digital keyboard or a wireless keyboard? I don't know. It's like a little skinny piano that she has up against the wall. And then most of those now have like a headphone jack so they can listen in their ears. Thank the Lord. Thank you for that kind of technology. So they can practice and I don't have to hear it all the time. So I'm flirting with the idea of in the near future, like doing something like that. I think it's really pretty. Like I really wish that I had learned how to play a musical instrument. But with Riley, I don't know, like the whole like dancing thing, it just freaks me out. The idea of putting her in a studio where they're like twerking and they're like, I don't know, like they're doing inappropriate things that I just don't think is necessary. And I know that that makes me sound 500,000 years old. Like I never would have thought that I'd be saying that. Like I even look back to some of the costumes that I wore. They weren't as bad as they are now, but even still, like I probably shouldn't have been doing that dance move with like a little stick that I had to like dance around like a short little skirt, and I was like 10. I don't know, like it forces these girls to grow up so soon, which is like a whole other laundry chat, right? Like that's a laundry chat in and of itself. Like I don't like that. And I'm not gonna do something that purposely like reinforces that. So we will see as they continue to get older and as they start like, you know, expressing interest in things, then we can have conversations and we can figure out what's gonna work. But with Jackson, even if it's not like a like an organized thing, I do know that we need to get him, like even if it's just like with his friends, like being outside more, like having Joe practice throwing the ball and like doing stuff like that, going to the parks, like that is important. And so we honestly like don't do the best job at that. Like they're more like nature-y, go find rocks, go find snails, go find, you know, frogs and things like that. But I would like for him to become a little bit more like coordinated. So we've got to work on that. And again, I don't have the perfect answer to any of this. It's just kind of some of my rambly thoughts on sports, extracurriculars. If you have anything you want to add, let me know. And again, helpful tips would be super welcome. I'm not bashing you if you do extracurriculars with your family, if your kids are in a million things. Like if that's the life that you would like to have and you have found that it works for your family and it's healthy, then go for it. The only thing that I will say is like, don't feel pressured by society that has to be the life that you live. Like if it's not something that you're getting joy from, that your kids are enjoying, like if it's something that's becoming more of a negative than a positive, then like you don't have to do that. Like your kid can be totally normal and have a great childhood without being like in football and lacrosse and basketball. Like can be a great kid, a great teen, and have a million other traits and interests and things that they're good at without like playing an organized sport. And I feel like, I don't know, in America at least, it seems like that's like the first thing that they kind of make you feel like you have to do. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. So that is all. That's the end of it, because I finished folding this laundry and I promised you guys that I would keep these short. So thanks for listening. I love your faces, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.